Hi everyone, Ruthie here with Black Fig Food, and I'm here today with Savor the Goods at Home for the Holidays, and I'm here to teach you how to make a delicious bourbon ginger cake with cranberries. Let's get started. To get started with this cake, we're first going to make our sugared cranberries that are going to go on the top of the cake. So what I have here are about 12 ounces of fresh cranberries, and y'all know this is seasonal stuff here, so we're going to utilize them this Christmas season with this gorgeous cake. So what I've got here is a couple of bowls, and I'm going to add just a teeny bit of maple syrup to the cranberries and get them nice and coated, because this is what the sugar is going to stick to. So I'm just going to get dirty. This is the best part of baking, right? And if you know me well, you know that Ruthie is not a very patient person, so I don't bake as often as I should, but today I'm doing it just for you all. So here we go. So once I get all that maple syrup covered on the cranberries, I'm just gonna lightly, and I'm not measuring the sugar at all, I'm just putting it in there and we're gonna toss it and get it all coated, like so. And once you've got them coated pretty well, we're going to just lay them on top of a baking sheet lined with parchment paper and just give it some time for the sugar to dry to the maple syrup, and then we'll get started on the cake. Now, if you kind of feel like you added a little too much maple syrup to the cranberries, you can lay them out on a baking sheet with parchment paper and just go over it again with a little bit of sugar and then roll. This is the fun part where you get to play with your food. I don't want to say get dirty, but definitely get playful with it. And just roll your cranberries in the sugar like so. Do a little dance. And look how beautiful they are. They look like a winter wonderland, and they're really sweet. So I can't wait for y'all to try this. On to the cake. To get started on the cake, let's go over all of the ingredients. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're wondering, where the heck is that bourbon? Hang tight. That's going to be in the frosting. So what we have here to get started with the cake is a stick of unsalted butter, softened, 2 cups of light brown sugar, 4 large eggs, a half a cup of canola oil, and 1 cup of oat milk. And I've combined them here together just to make things go a little bit smoother when I'm making the cake. 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 4 cups of all-purpose flour, 2½ teaspoons of baking soda, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and 2 teaspoons of ground ginger. Now, if you really like ginger, you could certainly add in fresh grated ginger into the cake, and if you choose to go that route, I would do probably about 2.5 tablespoons of that, and it's gonna have a bite, but hey, I bet you're brave, so let's get going with this. To get started with the cake batter, first you want to cream the butter with the eggs and the brown sugar. And then you're gonna add the wet ingredients and all of the other spices. Now we're gonna pour our cake batter into our 9-inch round cake tins. Little trick I do, and it's really no secret, bakers know this very well. You sometimes bake and your cake sticks to the pan. I know my grandma used to butter and then flour the cake tins, and it always worked for her, but for some reason, it never works for me. I'm sure it's all something I'm doing wrong, but to make things easier, I just spray the pan with a little bit of Pam spray, and then you're going to add a little piece of parchment paper. And I just cut a piece of parchment paper off the roll, and I set it on the counter, and you just trace your pan around with a pencil and then cut it out. Or if you bake a lot, I'm sure you can find these online already pre-cut. So you're just gonna set that in the bottom of the pan and repeat with the other pan. So where we have it, When it's ready to come out of the tin, you just go along with a knife and it pops right out. Now I'm pouring the batter into the tins. You kind of have to eyeball it. I'm just gonna go halvesies with the batter. And it doesn't look like a whole lot of batter at first, but once it spreads out and starts to bake, it's going to miraculously bake into a pretty darn good looking cake. And once you get your batter in the pan, just slowly work your way around the edges and smooth it to the edge of the pan. And of course, when it gets in the oven, it's going to start heating up and flattening out, and it will eventually spread out along the pan, like so. All right, let's get these in the oven. Oh, hey. Okay, are we ready to do this frosting? It is really, really good, y'all. Now, you could use any kind of bourbon. I'm using a little bit more expensive one, but you could just buy the cheaper ones behind the counter if you're just cooking with it. So, for the frosting, we're gonna start with 3 sticks of unsalted butter. We're gonna use about 6 ounces of the cream cheese, a little bit of vanilla extract, powdered sugar, and the best part of all, the sweet, sweet bourbon. Let's get started. Now for the fun part, we're going to build this cake. So the first thing I'm gonna do is level out the top of one of the cakes, and you're just gonna do that with a serrated knife, and just carefully go across the top, just to get it flat before we put the frosting on top of it. So once you've done that, we're gonna get started on building the cake. Let's do it. As I'm applying the frosting to the cake, I'm gonna go the naked cake route where you'll see a little bit of the cake on the sides, but most of my frosting is gonna be on the top. Now it's time to decorate the top of the cake with these beautiful cranberries. And you can just throw them on in any sort of pattern or not, just however you want to decorate it. You could just put it along the outside or completely over the entire top of the cake. And here, ladies and gentlemen, is a beautiful bourbon ginger cake with cranberries. Another thing you could do if you're going to serve this for your holiday gathering is put it on a really beautiful platter and decorate the bottoms with the extra cranberries if you have any left, if you haven't eaten them all, with a little bit of holly or fresh rosemary, anything that's gonna make it look a little green in contrast with the red cranberries. And here you have it. I hope you enjoy it.